So if you'll say who you are and your involvement, how long you've been involved.
And whenever you're ready.
Okay, my name is John Dyer. I'm the founding board president. I helped get the club going, and I was board president probably for a couple of years starting out.
I'm Dan Lehman. I was on the initial board as well, and I was the second chairman, I guess, in the early 2000s. It's been so long ago.
I'm Mike Wise. I had the pleasure of following Dan and John. I was the third board chair, and I came on the board about the time it was created or very shortly after. My memory on there is a little hazy, but I've continued to try to stay involved as much as I can.
So I'm going to ask a couple prompts, and whoever kind of wants to respond, if you'll try to wrap the question back into your response, because we don't want to hear me, we want to hear you and we want to set that story. So take us back to the beginning. What was the need in Southwest Virginia for this organization?
Well, I mean, when we first decided to talk about Boys and Girls Club, there was an absolute need in Southwest Virginia. Really very little in the way of after-school programs. A lot of poverty, kids needing some guidance. So it was very fortuitous that the Boys and Girls Club came into town and looked at setting up a program here, and I was happy to be involved in that.
We were told that Roanoke was the largest city east of the Mississippi that did not have a Boys and Girls Club. And so as we learned more about it, the need was obvious.
So what was it like getting it off the ground? Take us back to that process.
I was listening to Michelle talk about where things are today. It's just unbelievable to me. I mean, I think the most difficult part was really just breaking into the community, because you had all these existing service organizations, and they had loyal followings, and getting the story out and trying to attract people and companies to support it. It's very difficult.
When we started, we had a very passionate board, and our first activity was to look for an executive director and find a building. We did find this building on 9th Street, and the conundrum was that the building was for sale, we wanted it, but we couldn't start a fundraiser without securing the building. So I think the seminal moment for the Boys and Girls Club was when Mr. Lehman next to me came up at a meeting and said, well, I'm going to put my house up as collateral to secure a loan. Anybody want to join me? And so myself and Bill Holler with Allstate, we signed our names to that, and the rest is history. I think the second seminal event was Mike Wise's involvement in starting the Delta Dental Pro-Am golf tournament. That really brought the name of the Boys and Girls Club to Valley, told everybody we were serious, we were going to get the job done, and the rest is history.
Mike, can you go talk a little bit about the Delta Dental partnership in that development?
Well, I had asked to be the board chair of Hunting Hills Country Club, which wasn't a job that I really wanted, but I said, if I'm going to do this, I'd like to start a golf tournament for disadvantaged kids. And about 2 weeks later, a friend of mine, Jim Aaron, stopped me at a reception and said, are you aware that the Boys and Girls Club is getting ready to start in Roanoke? And I said, very honestly, I said, who are the Boys and Girls Club? So I ended up at a meeting with a couple board members, and the minute I looked at the demographics of Roanoke and the high poverty and what the organization was doing nationally, I said, that's something that I want to be part of. I want Delta Dental to be part of. And I went to the executive team of Delta Dental and got their buy-in, and Jerry Moorman, who was a founding board member, had already started a golf tournament, and he and I worked together for many years, I think, to make that tournament very successful. But I just kind of accidentally fell into it, and what a blessing it was in my life to be part of such a special organization.
Mike was absolutely key to really stabilizing the club and building the financial foundation from which it could grow, because he had management skill, he had these great community contacts, and he had Delta Dental behind him, and wouldn't be where it is today without his involvement.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Floyd. Can you talk a little bit about that search process to find that first executive director, and how, kind of, if you have any stories around that, let's open the club, let's get our first kid, how did that all, what do you remember from that?
Well, we work very closely with the national organization. Kirk Dominic was an executive with the Boys and Girls Club who came to Roanoke and started the project, and he really recommended a top-class executive director for us, and we interviewed him. Floyd Johnson was the first executive director, and he had a lot of good experience, and it worked out well.
Talk about some successes. So obviously securing the building was great, then we could get some funding to follow. Any other big moments of success in your tenures that you want to talk about, or that you recall?
Well, I mean, I think the highlight of any involvement in Boys and Girls Club is attending the Youth of the Year Awards. I had gone to the annual meeting for the state, and just seeing the kids with their stories, and our candidate, the issues they'd overcome to succeed, really heartwarming. And you know, that's the thing about the Boys and Girls Club. You're just gripped by one success, and here you are having hundreds of successes.
When I was board chair, I went to 2 national meetings, and I remember hearing Denzel Washington speak and hearing the statistics of the kids that have gone through the Boys and Girls Club. The high percentage of them, it was above 75%, that said, the Boys and Girls Club probably saved my life. And you know, you could just feel the passion of the organization and the success they were having, and it was highly motivating for me to attend those national meetings and to see and hear the national leadership and people like Denzel talk about his life and how it saved his life.
I just watched We Are the Titans the other day. It's such a good Denzel movie. It's incredible, his story.
Can I ask you, gentlemen,
Yeah,
also?
go
I
ahead.
mean, there, you know, I'm sure you all had a pretty good idea that this was going to work. But was there a moment, especially, what was the moment where, you know, you guys went, okay, this is working. We're doing good things. This is happening. Like, this is going to keep going, and the lights are going to stay on and the wheels are going to keep moving. I mean, you know, putting your house up and things like that. I mean, that's no small, you know, investment. You know, again, what was the moment for you all that you really went, okay, this is a great thing and it's working?
I think when we got the building renovation completed and had the grand opening, I mean, you know, it was always key in the Boys and Girls Club structure that there be a place, and so finally we had a place, and it, you know, something that everyone could focus on for fundraising, and you know, that I thought was the key moment for me, that we were off the ground and really going.
Anybody else have a epiphany?
As far as moments when we thought it was a success, I think it was several years before I was comfortable with what we had accomplished, because every year you've got to fundraise, you've got to engage people, you've got to get the community involved, and I mean, I'm still amazed it's here 25 years later. That's just amazing.
Yeah, I would say, to answer your question as to when I thought we kind of had crossed the Rubicon was, I have to give my former employer credit for that my executive team convinced our board to contribute $250,000, convinced Delta Dental's board to contribute $250,000 in an endowment fund, which was earmarked for Northwest. But when that happened, I just sensed that we've really got the momentum. We're out in front of a lot of significant donors in the community. We're out in front of a lot of important businesses, and this was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years after we were open, maybe some at that point in time, but that was kind of my benchmark.
We were fortunate to have some early support from some large corporations. Carillion was tremendous, Delta Dental, of course, Allstate, Cox Communication was very instrumental, and we're very grateful for those companies.
And, you know, I think early on too, having been the, you know, one of the driving forces behind this thing succeeding, I'm sure you all talked to a lot of people about the Boys and Girls Club, and if, you know, if 25 years later somebody didn't know about the Boys and Girls Club, you know, what would you tell them? What's important about it? What would you tell them why it's important to be a part of it, to contribute, to, you know, help support them?
Well, I mean, if I saw someone and they asked about the Boys and Girls Club, the things that I would mention to them is that they feel a part of the club. They're a member. They're not attending an after-school program. They're a member of an after-school program, and the club gives them values and coping skills and the ability to overcome their challenges. It's not just a place for kids to go after school. It's a place to grow their minds after school.
I'm sorry, but I was a little hazy on your. Would you repeat your question?
Yeah. You know, having been, you know, people kind of carrying the banner for Boys and Girls Club for so long, you know, I'm sure you guys have thought a long time about why this matters and telling people about why it matters. You know, if 25 years later somebody didn't know about the Boys and Girls Club and you had to tell them why it mattered and why it's important that they support the Boys and Girls Club.
I would go to what I said previously in our breakfast meeting, that it's the results. Seeing success, seeing the national statistics, that it's overwhelming that so many kids said the club saved their life. Seeing Juice, our scholarship recipient, what he's been through in his life and the story he tells, and wanting to come back and help the younger kids. It's the results that resonates with me.
You know, what I think is most important about Boys and Girls Clubs is that instead of trying to correct problems that have already occurred, we get kids before they've really made bad choices, and we're able to teach them about what good choices are and how to make them. So to shape them instead of trying to fix something that has gone wrong. And to me, that's a lot easier and a lot more beneficial. And with this great national organization behind us with all these proven programs, it's just a wonderful thing for the community, I think.
What excites you about where we are now, and when you think ahead to what's to come?
Ahead.
Well, what excites you about the future and the kind of the vision for the next 25 years?
Well, this organization is a place I never thought I would see it. I mean, it's emotional, overwhelming to me sometimes to hear you and Michelle and others talk about the vision of where we're going and how many clubs we have and the potential, and it just so many kids we're serving. it certainly has exceeded my dreams. And I think with the results that we are generating with helping young people, I think it will continue to grow and prosper. And will be something that I believe that the Roanoke Valley in Southwest Virginia will continue to support and help grow.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the number of locations expanding. It takes a lot to start in a new facility, new people, new community, and try to get the ball rolling, but every time the Boys and Girls Club does that, it seems to succeed. They get the local support, they get the parents involved, and it just keeps growing.
Well, it's just, as I said before, unbelievable to me where it is today compared with
Yeah.
just trying to get started, 25 years ago. And I mean, there's every reason to believe it's going to keep going even further, even better.
I would remember, this is kind of a funny story when I look back on it, but I went to lunch with Floyd Johnson, who was our first executive director, and I was chair of the board then, and he said, "We don't have enough money next week to meet payroll." And I said, "You're kidding." And he said, "No." And I went to a dear friend, Earl Childers, who for many years was our largest individual donor, who's deceased today, and he left a trust fund for this organization. And I said, "Earl, I need $10,000 for the Boys and Girls Club to meet payroll." He looked at me and he said, "Well, what are you doing with the money? What are you doing with the money?" I said, "Earl, it's a new organization. I need your support." He pulls out a checkbook and he wrote me a check for the Boys and Girls Club for $10,000. I'll never forget that. And he was a dear friend, and we gave him an award many years ago because for many years he was the largest individual donor of this organization. He believed in it. But that was a special day that I'll never forget.
It's a great story. I love that you brought in the fact that they have left a legacy as
Yeah.
well.
Anything else?
I think we captured.
I don't have anything else for there. I just have a question for you and Michelle. I hope you're going to have some type of media blitz to talk about our successes in the 25 years, and is that in the plan? I hope?
Yeah, we're working on a full communication plan to roll out around the Power Moments. We're actually recording a PSA
Good.
with Michelle this afternoon, 2 different versions that we'll be running on some TV spots.
Wonderful.
We're recording some radio spots with 4 of our large corporate partners. So Chris with Delta is going to do one for us, Cox,